You now to the latest on that brazen shooting death of the United Healthcare CEO. Police now saying the person of interest in that case has actually left the city.
All right, Richard Giacobbe live in Central Park with more on why the NYPD is saying that and the rest of the day's developments. Richard.
Well, Steve, Natasha, investigators have spent the past 2 days going through hours and hours of surveillance footage from subway stations to Port Authority bus terminals and even private cameras. It has led them to reveal tonight that they believe that suspected killer, his manhunt, now expands out of state. The accused killer of that United Healthcare CEO left New York City on a bus, according to the NYPD, days ago. And this is how they're looking at it. To try and nail down who this person of interest is, the NYPD spending much of the late afternoon here in Central Park looking for what could be the alleged killer's backpack. A likely tip called into cops that he may have dropped the backpack shortly after the murder. More than 100 officers have been on foot looking through bushes and leaves and climbing over giant rocks while drones fly above, pinpointing areas that may be more difficult to access. NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch says that the suspect got all the way to West 86th and Central Park West with his bike. He loses the bike and hops in a cab that took him up to 178th and Broadway. This was on Wednesday, right after the murder. That's a Port Authority bus center at 178th and Broadway, where interstate buses travel to and from New York. Investigators say they have video of the suspect going into the bus terminal, but he doesn't come out, which leads them to believe the alleged killer got on one of those buses.
We had them getting on a bicycle and riding into Central Park. We then later pick him up on 77th Street, exiting the park on Central Park West, still with the bicycle. Eventually, we have him on 86th Street and Columbus Avenue, walking. He loses the bike. And then from there, we have him in a taxi cab, and the taxi cab takes him up to 178th Street and Broadway, which, as we know, is a Port Authority bus center. Those buses are interstate buses. That's why we believe he may have left New York City.
Do you know what bus he got?
That's NYPD Chief of Detectives Joseph Kenny. We've obtained this video tonight of the alleged killer. They did mention there that he exited the park, still on his bike. This is video from West 85th on Wednesday. You could see him riding on the bicycle without his backpack, and that's why it makes sense for cops to be here in Central Park tonight looking for that backpack. They believe he dropped it. Now, we are obtaining these exclusive photos we're going to show you tonight of a brown shopping bag. It's being guarded by NYPD. Sources tell us that this bag contains clothing. Cops are now investigating whether they can connect this to this case. Experts have called this suspect methodical and clever. But everyone makes mistakes. It's up to investigators to find those mistakes. And it's likely that all of these tips, they've been flooded with tips. One of these tips led them to find that he went to that bus terminal and left out of state. So much to this story that will continue into tonight and most likely into the weekend. We're live in Midtown tonight. Richard Giacobbe, Fox 5 News. Steve, Natasha.
All right, thanks, Richard. Police looking for a suspect who almost hit an officer while trying to...
Right, and that was some of the Fox 5 New York coverage that we wanted to bring to you right here on Live Now from Fox. We are getting some new sound in from the NYPD commissioner talking about where this suspect could possibly be, and they're now thinking that he left New York City. Let's listen in on Live Now.
We have reason to believe that the suspect or a person of interest may have left New York City. And so we want to get the photo out to a national audience. And we want all your viewers to take a good look at the photo. And if you recognize the person in the photo, call 1-800-577-TIPS. Our investigators, our detectives chase down every lead that we get, but we need your audience to help us out and let us know if they recognize the person. I'll also say, if you see the person on the street, don't call that number, call 911, because the person could be armed and dangerous.
Well, just from looking at the video canvas that we've been doing, is we were able to track him all the way from the incident location itself, and eventually we have him entering the Port Authority bus terminal at 178th Street and Broadway. As we know, that's an interstate bus terminal, so it's our belief we saw him go in, we didn't see him come out, so it's our thought that he got on one of those buses, and we're running that down now. Yeah, we believe he was here for about 10 days, but we have that bus leaving the same morning, him going up to the Port Authority terminal the same morning of the incident, approximately an hour afterwards.
Right, that is some new news in this investigation that continues to be a major story out in New York City as well as the nation. And I want to bring in our next guest here on Live Now from Fox to continue to break down this big story. This is Michael Alcazar, retired NYPD detective. Thanks so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And Michael, my first question to you is, now that the police believe that the suspect left New York City, tell us how this manhunt now goes, not only from a city level, but now to state and probably nationwide as well.
Yeah, absolutely. They probably made notifications to other local authorities. Federal agents might be involved. It's my suspicion that they already have an identification for the suspect and that they're hunting him right now. They might not release that information right now, but they're in contact with local police. If they do know the suspect's identity, I'm sure they're camping out at his house. They're staking out where he used to work or his friends or anything like that. So I'm very confident that the detectives will make an apprehension very soon.
And for the mind here of a suspect that was caught on camera doing this and then fleeing the area and then the city, what is going on at this hour for this person? Obviously, they're trying their best to stay away from the police here, but do they have that ticking time down clock in their mind as well, that they got to keep moving, or it's going to really zero in on them?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, this guy looked like he planned it pretty well. I mean, he almost had like a full day to get away before we had his image out there. So, you know, if he had made plans for this, I mean, for all we know, he could have gone on a plane and taken off the country. You know, we don't know how well he prepared for this. We are hoping he made a lot of mistakes, and we're picking up on that with him leaving the evidence. I mean, he left the evidence, the bullet. I think that was purposeful, but he left, his DNA on the water bottle, on the phone. I think we might have found his clothes. So, yeah, he's definitely concerned about his getaway. I mean, hopefully he's still in the country and we can locate him. But I'm afraid that if he planned better, he might have been on a flight that day.
And talk about, as the hours continue past this shooting, talk about a little bit about, from an investigative perspective, as these hours continue on, does it get harder? Does it worry investigators as the days get longer that the suspect is not behind bars yet?
I think our investigators are just getting all the information they can get. Crime Stoppers, again, like the commissioner said, is getting flooded with tips. And that's good information. And I think that's how we probably I believe they identified him already. Somebody already recognized him from his image, his face image, his clothing, his gait, his walk. Somebody gave him up already, and we're going to make that apprehension. But once the detectives get that information, they roll with it. They want to make the apprehension. They're making notifications to other agencies. They want to make this arrest. So I know they're excited. They've been working for 3 days now, and I know when I was in the squad, I'd get so involved. I just want to make the arrest. So they're going to do it meticulously, and they're going to do it properly. They're going to collect all the evidence, and again, make for a strong case once they make this apprehension.
And I think that's great insight what you're talking about. While they probably won't say publicly, but they may know the ID here of this suspect. And what can they do behind the scenes right now if they truly know an ID on this person? What can they be doing digitally, on the internet as well, to look more into who they are dealing with?
Yeah, if they have the suspect's name already, they're running him through databases. They're trying to find out his known addresses, work addresses, family members. They're basically doing a whole background check on him so that we can send people out, investigators out, to make observations and hopefully make the arrest. So again, other agencies are involved now. So this is a nationwide manhunt. If this guy's still here, hopefully he's still here. Hopefully he wasn't that prepared and he made an escape. He's a young guy. We don't know where this guy came from. He could be from the United States. He could have been flown in from somewhere else. I hope that's not the case. Hopefully he's still here and we can make the apprehension.
Yeah, absolutely. And that video, it was so brazen to do it in such a public area and then run off here. Now, when dealing with an individual that it seems like this was a targeted attack rather than someone just shooting down a street, how does that go into the manhunt where it would seem like this suspect had one person in mind, and it was that CEO?
Yeah, as an investigator, we got to look into the organization. Is there a disgruntled employee? Is there a disgruntled customer? We got to comb through all the correspondence that may have happened with the organization from a potential suspect, right? This guy etched these words on these bullets. We look for those words to match up with anything electronically documented or on letters, right? So we want to find out. We're going to talk to his wife. We're going to talk to everybody to try to determine, how did this happen? How did he know where he was going to be? I mean, he had to watch the victim only for a couple of days. How did he know he's going to walk that path? I mean, that's a lot of good homework on his part for him to just wait there and watch for the victim to walk past him. He knew his timeline. So this guy seemed very well prepared. Initially when I saw it, I thought maybe it was fumbling with the gun. Now we have new information on the gun, and, it might have been purposeful. He might have selected this gun, to do this execution purposefully. So that's interesting too. Going to have to find out where he obtained that gun. We heard that he might have purchased it in Connecticut, leads say. So a lot of moving parts to this investigation.
Yeah, and lastly, Michael, I just want to ask you your thoughts on that video when we see the suspect following the CEO and then stopping. I thought that was interesting to stop and then aim rather than continue maybe going up to him and shooting him even at closer range. I know it was pretty close in proximity, but why would the suspect stop right there and then aim at right in the middle of the street there? Or
Mike, I was looking at that video too. I was watching it. Initially, I thought, he was fumbling around with the gun, like I said. But it seemed like it was very methodical. I mean, he didn't even care that there was a witness there. He shot him. He ejected the round, loaded another round, and then he calmly walked up and shot more rounds. So, we do have to entertain the idea that this guy might be a professional. We don't rule anything out. So, he very calm in the execution until he finally took off. So there's a lot of motive there that we have to investigate. And how did he come up with, the information to finally track down this poor man?
Yeah, so true. And the investigation continues. All the hard work of the men and women continue. Michael, thank you so much for joining us on Live Now from Fox. Always giving us some great insight what is happening behind the scenes. We appreciate it as always.
Yes, sir. You're very welcome.
You take care. All right, everyone. We will take another 2-minute break here on Live Now from Fox. Stay right here with us. More to come on Live Now.